I am a very optimistic person. I'm also a very realistic person. We have less than a week now with the new president, so it's not difficult for me to convince you that we are at the beginning of a very, very dark tunnel. It's natural that we feel despair, we feel sad, we feel anger. Later on, I'm going to talk about, and then in the coming weeks, I'm going to talk about the foundation of our spiritual training. We're going to be reviewing what I call the 5 faculties, and the beginning 3, which are the faith, diligence, and mindfulness, is the foundation. In this case, the faith is not just faith of a deity, some other third person, whoever it is, but also faith in yourself, confidence. So today I'm going to try to restore that confidence, not only in yourself, but in your country. In 2024, this last presidential election, a total of 152 million people voted, which means 38% of those who registered did not vote, which is more than in 2020. 2020 was only 33%, 1/3. This is a little bit more than 1/3, which means that however consequential you thought this election was, a lot of people didn't bother. Out of the people who voted, 152 million, Trump did not get more than 50%. He only got 49.8%. Biden in 2020 actually got 51.3%. Now, of course, Harris, Kamala, got less. She got 48.3%, but still more than what Trump got in 2020, which was 46.8%. Now, what that means is that if you add the two numbers together, they're not 100%. 1.9% of those who voted, 2.9 million of us, decided to throw away the vote by voting third party. So if you take the difference between the popular vote between Trump and Harris, it was only 2.3 million, or 1.5% of total. Less than those who threw away the vote. It was that close. But of course, our system is not based on popular vote. Our system is based on the Electoral College. So Trump won. He could have won without winning the popular vote, like he did before. But he did win the popular vote this time. But more importantly, he won the Electoral College. So he had 312 vote, electoral vote, and Harris had 268. She lost all the battleground states. But let's just take 3 of those battleground states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Together they have 44 electoral votes, which means that if Harris did not lose those 3 what we call purple states, which Biden did win in 2020, she could have 278 votes versus Trump's 268. So we just look at those 3 states alone. Trump won by 229,766 votes. That was the difference. If half of them voted the other way, Kamala could have won. Half of that is 114,000 votes. That's only 0.08% of the total. There are more people in Los Angeles today who lost their home because of the fire than the difference. That is how small the margin is. That is what the so-called Trump mandate. It's not even 1%. It's not even 1.1%. So on one hand, you can look at the glass being half empty, and it says, how could 100,000 people make such a foolish mistake that causes so much pain and suffering in the next 4 years and potentially the next 12? On the other hand, I'm a half-full person. And I'm sitting here saying that I'm confident, I'm optimistic, that almost at least close to half of our citizens still prefer rule of laws and still rejects cruelty and chaos. In the next 4 years, things are going to get really bad. But our United States, this country that I know for the last 55 years now, have always swung back and forth like that. I think there's enough goodness in us that we can recover. I believe in it. So what do we have to do now? What we have to do is to fight like hell. What we have to do is make sure that we have the faculties to fight, both physical, mental, and spiritual. That we cannot be consumed by hate and fear, because what we consume will consume us. So in closing, I wanted to remind you of a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., who ironically we celebrate on the same day the new president took power. He said, "We need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. We need leaders not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity." I ask God, as I know her, to grant me the faculties so that I could be among such leaders in the future. And by faculties, I meant the 5 faculties, which starts with faith, diligence, mindfulness, concentration, what we call samadhi, and wisdom, what we call panya. Particularly the first 3. I had mentioned before that, like Los Angeles, in 1906, the entire city of San Francisco were burned down due to the earthquake. A few houses stand. You will know these houses because they have no foundation. Concrete was not invented yet. Concrete was invented when they discovered that it needs 3 elements to make a composite that would reinforce each other: cement, sand, and pebble and rocks. Similarly, our practice needs a composite, needs a foundation, and they consist of mindfulness, what I talked about last week, which is anchoring your mind on your body when you're moving, whether you're exercising or walking. Anchor your mind on your breath when you're lying down, when you're sitting, and when you're standing. You do this one breath at a time, one movement at a time, and every time you finish, you recommit yourself, and when you recommit, that's called diligence. That's the second component. But all of that requires some kind of matrix, and that's your faith. Your faith that not only there is positive energy out there, there's positive energy within us, but faith also means confidence. Confidence in ourselves, and confidence in our fellow countrymen.